we're starting to see an emergence of a market that's always been there, but suddenly it's now part of the technology narrative, which is the operations technology or OT market. Yep. Plant and equipment, effectively. These assets used to be static, but now they're fluid and they're connected, right? So they become part of the IT narrative. It's 10 times the IT market. Absolutely. It's 10x the IT, and that's probably conservative based on many numbers that we're seeing from TSIA, from Forrester, from everyone, because they're all looking at that operations technology market or the plant and equipment market. They don't call it renewals, they don't call it subscriptions, they call it aftermarket. Yes. But effectively it's the same thing. So what's really important to understand in that market, what we're finding is important to understand there is these are connected assets that need to be looked after. Assets under management.
There's even a bigger issue in the IoT space. So there are various governments around the world, the UK, California, I think the US federal government's working on it at the moment. Australia's going for a best case rather than a law, but they are absolutely mandating that any technology that has an IP kind of connection to the internet needs to have a unique username and password, has to get security updates because there are examples of people that have hacked other people's systems through Philips Vue light bulbs because they're IP devices, right? But the last one is they need to be able to communicate, the manufacturer needs to be able to communicate with the end user, and this is under law, to tell them they're not going to get security updates anymore. And so if you've sold those light bulbs or cameras or whatever it is through a channel and no one's tracking the install base, you can't meet your legal obligation as a manufacturer to do that. So we would counsel at least one of our platforms running in the manufacturer so they can trap all of that point of sale data, know which channel it went through, appropriately communicate, or worst case, the distributor or reseller pick up that market. So they're protected because they will have a legal obligation.
And the obvious ones are like medical equipment, things Absolutely. Like that. They actually all sit on the network. They're not secure. So it's very easy to run software now on a network that doesn't care about the IP address. It'll find them, it sees them as artifacts. Forescout and software like that do that. Once you know it's there, then you can do stuff with it. You can secure it, yeah, of course, what you're talking about, but you can continue to keep it alive so that it's delivering. So many of these, so much plant and equipment is just static. But the big argument is, for example, you don't buy a forklift anymore, you buy lifts and drops, right? And it's all on consumption. Yeah. So our platform delivers on being able to do that constantly, consistently, and also, you start to add billing, you start all those other components. But when I see statistics that say that the OT market or the plant and equipment market connected is 10 times the IT market, we're just getting started. Absolutely. And I hear a lot of technology commentators say that the IT market is saturated, but when you start to think about industrial IoT and plant and equipment, we've only just begun. But the volume is so huge, you need automation and you need to be ahead of it all the time. And we're delivering well on that. And I think that's going to be the big opportunity for technology providers right now. Get the automation piece right and then continue to deliver in that world.
Oh, it's a massive opportunity. And in the med tech space, if you look at ultrasounds and MRIs, they need software updates. They can be breached. You've got to keep your eye on all of that somehow. And most companies, and we've got a very large Japanese company coming on board now who never even considered that the TVs could be hacked, which of course, because they're massive displays inside supermarkets that are connected via an IP address. So, there's all sorts of avenues to making sure you've got your arms around that install base.